Good Wednesday evening, listeners, and welcome to another edition of Conversations of a Sister here on YouTube. For those of you who may be here live, I thank you for tuning in. And for those of you who are going to catch the rewind, you'll catch me on the rewind. Tonight's conversation is labor workforce shortage. Did you guys know that there was a workforce shortage here in America? Because I didn't realize it. Like I know that after the pandemic, they was talking about how a lot of people quit. They quit working, they did other things, but I didn't think that that was something that was still happening until I dined at a restaurant on Sunday and it was obvious that there was a shortage. And, you know, the person that I was with was like, you haven't noticed that? You haven't noticed that there is a shortage in the workforce? And I'm like, no, I haven't. And for those of you who know me personally, you know that I am a restaurant connoisseur. It's like I like eating out. And I've gone to dozens of restaurants, but I have not noticed a shortage until I went to this one particular restaurant on Sunday. They were so short staffed that they didn't have silverware. Like, knives, forks, spoons, like real silverware, like a knife that you can really cut meat with, or in my case, a fish or a vegetable. Like they did not have real silverware. I was surprised that we were able to get our drinks in glasses. And, you know, the waitress, she apologized. She was like, we're really short staffed. So we had no one to wash the silverware. So of course I had to look at my dish when my meal came out because I'm like, if they didn't wash the silverware, did they wash the dishes? I was like, wow. But we hear it every day. We hear every day that there's a workforce shortage. And right now, the latest data shows that we have 9.5 million job openings in the US, but only 6.5 million unemployed workers. So we have more jobs than we do the unemployed. So my question is, where are the people? Like, where are they? Where are where are the people? Why are we in a shortage in the workforce? So I know that at the height of the pandemic, more than 120,000 businesses temporarily closed, and more than 30 million workers were unemployed. Well, and then you had some who didn't want to be vaccinated, so they quit their jobs. So since then, job openings have steadily increased while unemployment has slowly declined. So my question is, where are the people? Where are they? Where are the people? And you have different businesses and restaurants running specials to get people in, but they don't have the staff to sustain the crowd or, the influx of people that are coming in. Now, I did notice that when I've gone to certain stores, the lines are longer and they have less people on the registers. I did notice that. Um, Lines will be long, and it's like, can somebody please open up another register? I have noticed that. And don't get me wrong, no matter what you do, you do it well. whether it's a garbage picker or a sanitation worker or a waiter or a waitress or whatever you do it publicly. If you do it publicly and you deal with the public, I'm sure you do it well. But we have to get back into the doing. So in 2022, employers ended up adding an unprecedented 4.5 million jobs. 4.5 million jobs were added. So, again, my question is, where are the people? With a strong job market, that's good news. But where are the people? Where are they? You know, when I was in this restaurant on Sunday, you have one person making drinks for the entire restaurant. One person. One person. And she wasn't rude, regardless to what her her load was. She was very cordial. The only thing she had asked is that we be patient with her. And how could we not? We saw everybody working their fingers to the bones because they were short staffed. And it was obvious that they were short staffed. So, my thing is, if the consumer has to be patient with a short staff, I think that a lot of businesses should not be selling their products or selling what they have if they don't have the coverage. It's like, why do it? Oh, let's stress the little bit of workers or the little bit of people that we do have. Let's just stress them out so that they can be burned out and they don't want to come back to work or they don't want to work. My question tonight is, where are the people? Where are the people? How are we recruiting people to come back to the workforce? So the US does not have enough workers to fill these positions, even though we have more Americans participating in the workforce today than before the pandemic. So the overall share of the population participating in the labor force has dropped. And that's obvious that it has dropped because you see shortages everywhere. And, my girlfriends are talking about it. People that I know are talking about it. Some people just ignore it and they just go with the flow. But I think that, in my situation, when I was in this particular restaurant and they gave everyone plastic silverware in the little bags, the knives, the forks, the spoon, the plastic stuff, when they had given us that, I was a little bit alarmed because I was shocked. And I was like, oh, wow. And she kept saying, I'm so sorry, but we're short staffed. We just have no one to do this or no one to do that. And if you notice that when you go in certain restaurants, the restaurant will be packed, but they will pack out a certain area, and then you'll see a whole bunch of chairs in another area because they have no one to cover that area. I was in a restaurant, I think it was on Saturday night, and I know some of you are saying, damn, she's always in a restaurant. I am. I eat out a lot. I'm not ashamed to say that. I do eat out a lot. I just thank God that, I have people who can hang with that because I do eat out a lot. And I was in a restaurant, I think it was Saturday night, and we noticed that there was a section that was empty. Now the restaurant was pretty crowded. It was pretty packed, but it was packed like going around a wall or going around a certain area. But then there was a certain area that was just empty. There was like no one there. And I guess that's because they had no one covering that particular area. I mean, but thank God we received real silverware, real dishes. I didn't notice anything different of it being short staffed. So I thought that was a plus. But I just noticed that certain areas of the restaurant was just closed off. And I guess that's because of the fact that they had no one to really work in that area. That's how you know, that's how I took it. So that's the only thing I noticed. But the decline in the labor workforce is real. It's very real because it's like people have done different things. For some people, the pandemic worked out well because what they did was they enhanced their businesses. They became free of working for someone else. So they just kind of enhanced what they did with their talents and they just did something else. So that doesn't mean that there is still a shortage in the workforce in all areas because there is, you know? And I think that when you have that, it's like you have to take stock of staff, where you are, and how it can be improved. Now, you do have some restaurants and you have some businesses who have, hiring now, inquire within, hiring immediately, inquire within. You see it basically everywhere to the point wherein it's like, okay, well, people are hiring. It's not like they're not hiring, but it's just like, where are the people? You know, it's like, do anyone want to work anymore? And I have some people who say, well, a lot of people, uh, they have gained off of getting freebies from the pandemic. And I'm like, really? Who? You know, who gained from getting freebies from the pandemic? Like, what kind of freebies we're giving out? Like, I know that if people caught COVID-19, um, companies were paying them as they took the time off to recoup and recover. But as far as anything being free, I I don't know about that. I know that there were the PPP loans. I know people were talking about that. How you have some individuals who took advantage of that when it was supposed to be for businesses, but a lot of businesses, well, I'm going to say businesses who needed it, they did not uh, they did not profit from it. But they're saying that a lot of businesses that didn't need it profited from it, and that a lot of businesses applied for more than one PPA loan. So maybe individuals grew off of that and decided, well, I'm never going to work again because I'm going to take this and I'm going to enhance my business. And that's great. That's all well and good. But what about those who did not? What about those who are still needed in the workforce? It's like, where are you? Are you ever going to return? I mean, when you go places and you're used to seeing people on a regular, it's almost like you almost expect it. You expect to see these individuals and you hope that, everyone recover and can reclaim their jobs that they had prior, but that may not have been the case. You have some businesses that closed altogether, and then you have some businesses who were able to remain closed but still pay their employees until they opened again. So I guess it just depended on the situation. And didn't the government give funding to those businesses who were able to pay their workers during the pandemic? Those businesses who pivoted into a new way of dining based upon this? And okay, yeah, I'm talking about restaurants because, yeah, I go to restaurants. And if it's going to be noticeable, that is where I'm going to notice it. So, yeah, I noticed the shortage in this particular restaurant because it was so obvious when I was there when I haven't noticed it before. So, tonight's conversations of a sister is the labor workforce shortage. Now, I know people who are in the healthcare industry, such as those who work in hospitals. They talked about shortages. I know that since the pandemic, if individuals had the opportunity to retire, they did. It's like, okay, I'm retiring. And, you know, this retirement age may not have necessarily been 65 or 70. They retired because they were able to retire. And I think for them, it came a little bit younger in life because they were like, okay, I'm going to take this opportunity now to retire because I can. So that's automatically an exit from the workforce because you decided to retire. It's like, I've had enough of this. So let me just retire. So people just retired. So now we have those waiters and waitresses, and Lord knows they are needed because, people like me eat out and we appreciate wait staff. We appreciate it. I went to this restaurant a couple of months ago with my mom, and they may have been short staffed. I don't know. But I do know the service sucked. And it's a restaurant that I really like. And to be honest, I haven't been back since because the service was so bad that day. I was like, I'm just not going to go back. And see, I'm the type of person, when I go to a restaurant, if I'm hungry and the service is bad, oh, I'm never going to forget that. Because see, when I'm hungry, I get hangry. That means that you get angry when you're hungry. And sometimes it's like that for me. And if I'm going to a restaurant and the service sucks, that's not going to go well with me being hungry because then I'm hangry and the service sucks. And that's how it was this particular day. I ordered a salad. I didn't get a salad. I ordered a particular sandwich. I didn't get it. It came out another way. So he was slow. He was slow to find out, if we wanted anything else or if we needed anything else. The service was really bad. And I never went back. Now, this restaurant that I was in on Sunday, wherein the service was so bad that they gave us plastic utensils, yeah, I'll probably go back because the service wasn't bad. Uh, the waiters and the waitresses, they had a lot of patience and they had to pack patience because the place was packed. And they were not rude because sometimes, you have some wait staffs and waiters that are rude, and they were not rude. They were patient. They packed a lot of patience and they were very cordial. And for that, we can't help but be understanding because they're honest and they have nothing to hide. And for me, that says everything about the integrity of the establishment. So would I go back? Absolutely. I would absolutely go back. Now, if I had to think about the whole plastic utensil thing, you know, I might pack my own in my purse, you know, just to have it, just in case they pull a plastic thing out again. And I'll be like, oh, no, wait, that's okay. I have my own. But, the food was that good and the service was just as impeccable. So would I go back? Definitely. But where are the people? What is going on with the workforce labor here in the United States? So the decline of America's workforce, I think, is less participation, as we just stated. You got fewer people that's been participating in the workforce. And I think that the results are a smaller workforce. And from what I've been seeing and hearing and reading, is that it is just going to shrink as the years go on. And my question is, why is that? It's like, what is everyone doing? Like what is it? It's like, what does the workforce look like in the future? Because if you don't work, you don't eat. If you don't work, you don't live. So it's like, what is everyone doing if they're not working? You have to make some type of living. And you want to make some type of living because you want to be useful and have a reason to get up, even if you feel like what you do serves a purpose. And if what you do serves a purpose, then that means that there's people to see, people to meet, places to go, and things to do. I think that that's very important. So I think that despite the growing number of the workforce decline that is trending downward, and they're saying that it's been this down, like it hasn't been this down since like more than 20 years ago. So in 2000, the labor force participation rate for men, not women, but men, reached over 75%, while a woman's workforce rate, hovered at a meager 61%. That just meant that more men were working than women. You have a lot of stay at home women, you have a lot of stay at home moms. I work from home, so, but I am working, so I kind of wouldn't be in that number. But if you have more men working than women, that means that that's who was holding up the workforce. So what has changed? While women rated over 61% in 2020, um, it dropped like to 56% for women. 56% for women. And I think it dropped. It was 75%, I said, in 2020 or 2000, 75%. So the participation rate dropped amongst men since then, because they're saying now that men are also leaving the workforce, and they're probably starting their own businesses. So therefore, they're leaving the workforce. And it is said that the men are leaving the workforce at a higher rate than women. So why do we think that is? Why do we think that men are leaving at a higher rate? Let me see. Come to think about it, when I was in this restaurant on Sunday, I don't think I saw that many men. I think I saw more women than I did men. I think that the men may have been outnumbered at this point. So I'm thinking that if men are leaving the workforce at a higher rate, it has to be because they're starting their own businesses. They have to be doing their own thing, maybe getting their CDL licenses and driving trucks and owning their own trucks. Maybe they are just doing what they love and starting their own businesses because what they do creates income. Maybe they are barbers and they're cutting hair. Maybe they are brokers. Whatever they are doing it wherein they can leave the workforce to support themselves. And I think that's a good thing, especially if they're successful at it. There's nothing wrong with having your own business. There really isn't, especially if it's something that gives you joy and it gives you peace and it gives you purpose. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But as far as this shortage, it's like, what is going to happen? Like, I wonder about that. What will happen with the workforce shortage? What do we think the future will be like? Do people really just don't want to work? Because, I read blogs, I read websites, I read what people are saying. And some people think that people are just lazy and they want a handout. It's like help wanted signs, we're hiring everywhere. But they're saying that people are lazy. They just want to sit home, get whatever means of income they get, and that be it. They just don't want to work. So that's why the workforce is declining. Oh, God, I hope that's not true. And the reason why I say that is because that means that this generation or the new generation is being raised to believe or to think something different. Like I said, there is nothing wrong with working for yourself if your business is going to take care of you the way a job would, the way working for someone else would. That's a plus. But at least work. Contribute to the workforce. Get out there and do something to make a difference, to make a living, because you're needed. The workforce needs you. There's like opportunities that are waiting to be fulfilled, and they're not going to be fulfilled if you're sitting at home and not participating in the workforce. It's like we have to participate in order to be great. Because if you don't participate, then it's like what? It's like what next? Then the workforce will decline. And if the workforce declines, then what? When we go to the grocery stores, we're going to bag our own groceries. They already have the self checkout. And some people purposely don't go to self checkout because it's like it doesn't help the cashiers. So it's like I'd rather go to a cashier because at least they feel useful. When you go to self checkout, people don't feel useful because you're using self checkout. So it's like, what are they going to do in the future? They're going to do away with cashiers? Are they? I mean, sometimes I go to Home Depot, I can't find anybody to help me. It's like, it's almost like you have to stop a stranger to say, excuse me, but do you know where they might have plant pots? Excuse me, do you know where they might have whatever it is you need? And that happens a lot when I go to Home Depot. So it's like, well, darn, where are the people? It's like, where are they? People get back to work. The pandemic is over. Get back to work because you're needed. You are needed out here. Lord knows I need you. I mean, as we saw with the pandemic, women by and large left the labor force, take care of children, to take care of children or their loved ones. That's why women left. But men, they stayed the course. For example, my brother worked in the hospital. So he worked all during the pandemic. He was careful, but he worked. He didn't say, oh my God, I'm going to quit. You know, he worked. He worked through it. I know a lot of people who went to work during the pandemic, especially when you had different companies taking measures and taking precautions against it and doing what needed to be done to follow rules and regulations. But the pandemic is over and the workforce is needed. And people in life, we have to grow. And at this point, we have to grow forward. And I'm hoping that things return to normal. When? I don't know. But I'm hoping that they do. Because if they don't, then that means that the workforce will continue to decline. And that's not something that any of us would hope for. So remember, when we see shortages in restaurants and we see shortages in stores and in supermarkets, we have to be patient because there is a workforce shortage. And if you know somebody who needs a job, was not working, and who are healthy and able bodied, encourage them to go to work because they are needed in the workforce. I thank you for tuning in with me tonight as I talked about a shortage in workforce labor. With each week, the conversations will change. But in the meantime, I thank you for tuning in. Whatsoever things are good, just, honest, and pure. I want you to think on those things. Until next week, see you then.